Majestic moments in cosmic flight, holding on to the stars of starlight. There's a light within the dark waves, guided by echoes of ancient ways. Unify our reflection, with every beat there's a connection. Feel the pulse, divine sensation. Everyone feels the pain, it's a right invitation. There's a light within the dark waves, guided by echoes of ancient ways. Unify our reflection, with every beat there's a connection. Feel the pulse, divine sensation.
castaway. Alienated from the aids of added nature in disguise. Ideas ahead of time dismissed with narrow eyes. Benefactor boy, dreaming about the world you can't deploy. Changing the system, but treated like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is his point. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice? Lost on them. Kevin structures crumbling from the same old sim. They laugh like I'm crazy, but I see it all so clear. Exploited labor under injustice burning ears. Fighting for a change in this wasteland of noise. But they call me foolish words, ancient ploys. Benefactor boy, dreaming about the world he can't deploy. Changing the system, but treated like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is his point. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice? Oh, benefactor boy, keep fighting the fights, chasing revolutions in the darkest nights. A dreamer with vision beneath the laughter and noise. A future so bright waiting for the right choice. Benefactor boy, dreaming about the world he can't deploy. Changing the system, but treated like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is his point. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice?
My dust cracks the code tonight. Oh yeah, that's true. Wires and circuits to shine in neon lights. Oh yeah, seen you creating power from the air. These smiles and delight. Oh yeah. Mike does it right. Hey. Mike does all my keys to one. Teaching us knowledge, lighting the sun. Trumpeting his legacy alive is his. Mike does knows we're his biggest friends. Down in the basement, secrets start to glow. Oh yeah. With Nathan Lulu in the show. Oh, brilliant team. Mike came on Faraday. We're letting knowledge flow. Energy streams. Mike does all my keys to one. Teaching us knowledge, lighting the sun. Trumpeting his legacy alive is his. Mike does knows we're his biggest fans. Years of thought, bringing dreams to life. Turning theories into electric light. Mike and us, a journey to ignite. Oh yeah. We've reached new heights. Hey. Mike does all my keys to one. Teaching us knowledge, lighting the sun. Trumpeting his legacy alive is his. Mike does knows we're his biggest fans.
In a town down south where the fireflies glow, there's a man named Michael with a vision to show. Building towards a goal, he's got the spark, dreaming of a future that'll light up the dark. But on the other side, Bill Nye's on the rise with his laptop charts. He's cut down all the lies. And it just fits, it's all in the map. You can't pull from the ether, you're just chasing a path. But oh, Michael's rising like a morning sun. With the power of either, he won't be outdone. Now stand up and shout, let the truth be affirmed. Feel the energy flow, let's change the world. the table ready to pick. Chose your fruit, but let the taste clear. And I find the screen, you're just chasing a spin. But Michael smiled by with fine his eyes. Watch as I spin, let the naysayers cry. Girl, spin fast, in a heart full of fight. I'll show you the power that's hidden inside. Oh, Michael's rising like the morning sun. With the power of either, he will be outdone. Well, stand up and shout, let the truth be unfurled. Feel the energy flow, let's change the world. I'm the best there's ever been.
In the depths of hidden files, trapped inside the secret circuits, unraveling through the miles. Oh, truth was masked by golden curtains. You didn't know, we're shattering the silence. Feel the power, revelations on the rise. Shadows, light emerges, breaking through the veils of dark. 0 points and gravity converge, yeah. Guiding voices, revelation start. Ancient whispers call, they're begging us to open our eyes. We stand tall, defying all their lies. Even in now, we're shattering the silence. Feel the power, revelations on the rise.
This type of setup, you know, except this one we wound into an Abha design. But yeah, I remember when he was showing people how to do that, and he showed energy reduction effects, and he demonstrated the monopole anomaly and those things. Well,
par for the course.
Well, not to mention the videos are down now anyway.
His first round of funding, was the terms where he had to take them all down, and he wanted the money, so he did. It's a real big problem for all of us all the time.
Yeah. Well, I'll make sure that I'll keep my my most important videos up. I did filter out some of the more confusing things. I think that a lot of the learning process, you know, has kind of narrowed out our most important effects at this point. So to have people looking at the old videos is kind of like counterintuitive to what needs to be presented at the moment.
Well, refining or or culling. Culling
Yeah.
things is normal. Outright removing everything is something else.
Yeah, yeah. And that's not what I'm interested in doing either. I think that it's important to allow people to have access to the information. So I left up that how-to video. We've got circuits posted online so people can go and find out how to wire it up, and at least the very basic the first step is there for people. And I'm gonna make sure that that stays there. So that if anybody wanted to take the idea and implement it a little further or expand on the concept, that they have that ability. Because I think that was a crucial part of our learning process. Being able to see those videos online and follow up Jamie's work. Are you guys getting? What are you guys getting? I feel that it's very important to keep that line of information open for people. Either way, I'm gonna make sure that we allow people to replicate
It's a real
at least
problem.
these very first steps.
What's going on, everybody? I'm the benefactor and independent researcher trying to reverse engineer the PoE ABHA vortex coil, whatever you want to call it. There is some confusion regarding specifically the difference between an ABHA coil and the PoE coil, or what differentiates the ABHA coil from the Rodin coil. Now, the Rodin coil looks like, in my opinion, to be more of like the star configuration we see. And the ABHA seems to be more of the three-dimensional twirling pattern. So there is really no good source of information online about this. You kind of have to piece it together from little bits here and there that you find on the internet, and take some things at face value, because there's no database of information really that I've been able to find. If somebody has like a website or something that I can go to that explains these topics a little bit further in more detail, I would like to know what exactly makes the ABHA coil versus the Rodin coil. I know it's using the vortex math algorithm or pattern, but other than that, the Rodin coil appears to be a star pattern, or more star-shaped. And you can see that as the pickup wound around the wormhole or unification coil from Daniel Nunez, or if you've seen Michael's unification coil, his replication, he's got like a traditional Rodin star pattern wound as a pickup. So yeah, there's still a lot of details missing that we have to piece together here, and this data that I've been trying to collect is an attempt to organize and separate, the fact from fiction of this thing. And so far, everything that Daniel Nunez has said about the coil, in my opinion, that I've been able to research at least, is true. I haven't been able to look into certain areas, specifically a topic we're not allowed to talk about on YouTube, but the stuff that I have been able to look into, he was absolutely 110% right on nearly all of it that I've been able to replicate. And you'll see here that I've cracked the Nunez method with the stereo amp board, and we were having a lot of trouble with that, specifically trying to tune the coil and have some kind of noticeable significant output, and we weren't having any luck. And there was a couple of problems with that. We'll get into that, but for now, I want to go over some of the old data and go over specifically what is irrelevant now and the updates on the ABHA excitation circuit, or Michael's modified version of it, which is basically using this 1 meg ohm resistor, this 1 meg potentiometer, and this MJL21194G transistor here. Okay, and we did get this to work. Now, the interesting thing about this is that it was picking up, it appeared to be picking up radiant energy collected in the bulb, the neon bulb that we were using, and turning the otherwise orange-red bulb magenta or pink. So that was very, very interesting. However, when doing these tests and collecting the data, afterwards, Michael pointed out that I was not factoring in the duty cycle with the data, meaning the percentage on and off the pulses. So, with any pulse, you have, a certain percentage of the time it's on and certain percentage of the time it's off, right? It's pulsing on and off, on and off, on. So with a true AC sine wave, you should have 50% on, 50% off. With this, we were not factoring in the duty cycle, and when we factor in the duty cycle, it's the data shows significant reduction in efficiency, and it was I think it was 80% or 90% off and 10% on. So you're only really getting 10% of that signal as usable energy. So when we adjust for this, it was kind of exciting, but I was like, this seems too good to be true because it's not translating into our load. We're not having anything really powered significantly on the load end. We weren't showing that energy essentially on the output, even though the data seemed to be showing a significant gains. When you factor in the duty cycle, however, this brings down the actual. So you have for Michael's modified method, I had, for instance, 3.2 watts going in the input and 18.9 watts on the output. Now, this is huge. This is a significant increase, but we weren't seeing any of that as usable power. So when we adjust for the duty cycle, 1.5 watts is actually on the output. So this is actually a real big failure. I wouldn't call it a failure. It's still a success that we got the voltage amplified, and that's the goal of the circuit. But in terms of efficiency, we are nowhere near the efficiency rate that we need to be at. And specifically, I'm going to be aiming for at least a COP of 1 I'd be satisfied with. But as you'll see in the Nunez method, we might be getting way more than 1. Now, I haven't confirmed all the data. In order to confirm the data, we need to get a better oscilloscope with a current rated probe, so we can actually see the actual current instead of just collecting it in estimates with the multimeter. And that's basically what we're doing now. Because these multimeters aren't going to be the most accurate, they are the best that I have, and we're going to take the data at face value and come back to it when we have some more advanced equipment. But with that said, the data at face value looks to be very promising. Now, moving back to the stereo amp board, the Nunez method, which is an open circuit method of connecting both channels, not together directly, but through the load. So everything is able to resonate properly, and you're actually feeding the one coil. So you have 2 coils in your multifilar and the bundle, right? You have channel A, channel B. You're feeding positive energy into channel A and then negative energy into channel B in the opposite direction. So, or not, is it negative? I have to look at the chart. But essentially, you're feeding energy one way into one coil and the opposite way into the other coil. And what this is doing is creating 2 counter-rotating electromagnetic fields, 2 counter-rotating vortexes, essentially, And when they get strong enough, they collapse down in on one another and pinch at a 0 point. And that 0 point is the key to everything. All right, so Daniel said the only time he got over unity with his coils, when specifically this is a conversation he was having with a PhD in electrical engineering who was, doing some data, collecting some data on the coil, verifying his over unity claim. And he was doing a lot of metrology and all that stuff. And when talking to this doctor, Daniel said the only time that he got over unity was with a true AC sine wave with the stereo board, the Nunez method, as I call it. Now, this makes sense with torsion theory, that is. By effectively adding energy in both directions of the coil, you're creating two counter-rotating fields that create a 0 point on the coil's equatorial plane, or neutral plane between the two electromagnetic fields. Give me 1 second. I'm going to bring this up for you guys. I forgot to... Let's bring that... The data. There we go. All right. So, we know that two fields of study that have shown promising evidence in over unity are torsion physics and plasma physics. Now, what does this have to do with our waveform? With the Joule Thief, right, we're pulsing the circuit, but it's not a true AC waveform where it's slushing back and forth, okay? We're just pulsing it on and off. There's no backwards motion. So, by limiting our waveform, in my opinion, to one direction in the coil, you can get interesting effects, but I haven't observed any over unity. Now, do I think it's possible? Sure. I do think it's possible. Many people have gotten over unity with the Joule Thief without the Rodin coil. So, it's definitely possible. But the current configuration we have is not showing over unity. It's not even showing good efficiency. So, really what it's doing is acting as a very, very good step-up transformer, and it's stepping up the voltage quite a bit, but with almost no usable current, because that's expected. When you're stepping up the voltage that much, you're not going to have that much usable current in the first place, right? Or you shouldn't, except when using the Nunez method. Now, I'll explain that in a minute. But it is my belief that you have to have the true AC sine wave to have the smooth transition back and forth movement inside the coil in both directions. It is also my belief that by having a 1:2 ratio of coil diameters instead of 1:5 significantly reduces the coil's ability to squeeze each field on top of each other and produce that 0 point. So it's not that you can't get close and produce some kind of over unity, but it seems that maybe having a tighter inner diameter is what's required for practical applications of the coil for real energy gains. And also what I mean by that is specifically powering something significant, like using it as a backup generator for your house when the power goes out. So if this setup pans out, it couldn't have come at a better time. With winter coming, the most expensive thing to run in this apartment is the inefficient and ancient HVAC unit for my unit. The good thing is we might have cracked this efficiency issue. And I know exactly how Daniel Nunez used the coil for induction heating. It's quite simple. And I'm going to explain all that later. That's going to be near the end of the stream. I'll release that information for you guys. But it's very simple. It's not that hard. It's very, very simple. Okay? And it's just based off of my observations. All right, so here we have some wiring diagrams for powering vortex coils. On a closed circuit, the coils can be used for speakers by putting the magnet in the center. Also great for demonstrating monopole properties. I've demonstrated the monopole this way many times on many live streams. It's very, very cool. By opening the circuit and connecting the lights, such as LEDs, neon lamps, fluorescent tubes, and xenon bulbs, the coils are able to draw in more resonance and create high voltage. Now, because the lights act as a capacitor themselves, this is why you need to choose your load correctly with this kind of setup. We might not be able to power a scooter with this now that I'm actually seeing what this coil is capable of doing, but, well, by itself with this method. But maybe introducing a Bedini SG circuit with this kind of coil, or specifically just using this coil for heating and lighting, that's going to hopefully see significant energy gains, right? Because we want to try to save money. You know, I live in a 1-bedroom apartment. It's like $900 a month for this, you know, shitty 1-bedroom apartment, and it's getting expensive. So we all need solutions, real practical solutions to save us on energy, to save us on money. And you know, when I saw that live stream of Daniel talking to Marco and some of the other guys, he just released so much more details about what this coil is capable of. And I think everything he said so far is true. This is going to pan out real well for us, because what he said specifically is he used, I think he used the Jewel Thief, but he didn't say. He was able to use, I think it was the Jewel Thief, I'm not sure, but one of his circuits to power a panel of 500 LED lights, which was really bright, right? That would light up my whole living room. So he was able to power that fully with this 12-volt battery, right, for 58 hours. Now, he said, because I think Marco asked him, well, how long would it run without, you know, the coil? An hour and a half. So with this load, it only runs an hour and a half. And he said he ran it for 58 hours off of that same battery. And if that's true, that means we might not have to turn on the lights very much in my apartment very soon. Okay? So you can see the difference between these two circuits. One on the left is the closed circuit, where you're connecting the end of channel A to the start of channel B. Very simple, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Notice how the coils are proportional on both sides, yet they are able to create high voltage. This is a very important trait of working vortex coils. So you know that your coil is working correctly if you're specifically able to get this open circuit to maximize your resonance. So, and I have a feeling, even if you use the closed circuit, because we saw significant voltage increases, at least doubling of voltage at very low frequencies, specifically 1 kilohertz. Yeah, we saw, you know, at least double the voltage. So if your coil, using this open circuit method, if your coil is able to produce high voltage, and you see the spike in voltage on the output, like I'm about to describe to you, then you have a true working vortex coil, according to One Stop Energies. Sorry, I keep saying First Stop. It's actually One Stop Energies. So there were a couple things I was doing wrong originally with this setup, and suffice it to say, we have it working correctly. But you have to be aware, if you are going to do this, please be advised. I'm not liable for any damage to you, yourself, others, or your property. Do this at your own risk. I recommend only professionals or people who are comfortable and responsible with this kind of setup, because it has produced a lot of ozone. I haven't experienced any. That's not to say it's not producing any on a tiny scale that I just can't detect. I don't run the coil for long periods of time, like specifically because Michael had a lot of ozone production with his coil, and it filled his whole apartment. That's very dangerous. You don't want that to happen. So, I mean, you know, it from everything that I've experienced, I can tell you how to avoid it, and that's just don't disconnect the load if it's going to produce ozone like that, or turn down the power significantly. But still, you know, I can't predict what's going to happen if you have slight variations in your coil design. But if you're following the Dragon 7 coil frame that I have in the setup from you know, phase 1 do-it-yourself guide, then you should be fine. I don't know. We are in the process of replicating the Mark 1 coil and having a couple people gather their own independent data to try to determine if the effects that I'm seeing are the same effects that they see, basically. So let's move down to, all right. So this was taken 3-4 days ago at 2 o'clock in the morning. I had to type this up because we had some revelations. And recently, specifically regarding our multimeters, all the data that we used above for the Jewel Thief has to be thrown out or set aside due to the fact that more testing with different multimeters yielded different results, which were mixed. Now, we didn't get any kind of consistency with our fancy twin Kaiwitz meters here. These are supposed to be the good ones. And they actually, one of them wasn't working correctly, and the other one seemed to be following suit. So I don't believe that they're able to pick up the current accurately with this kind of high frequency. So I switched my multimeters. We do seem to be getting some more accurate readings now, something that we can actually go off of. Now, we have to verify this with the oscilloscope, but these do seem to pan out. They seem very promising. So let's move down to, yeah, we'll set those twin meters aside and use my school meters. So with my other meters, my school meters, which are, you know, they're not as fancy, but they're really reliable. And with these meters, these readings indicate that the 6 kilohertz we get from 14 volts going into the coil are at 6 kilohertz. We get 14 volts going into the coil from our stereo amp with max volume. That means we're taking the stereo amp board and turning it all the way up, the volume knob all the way up. So that increases the power to the outputs. So we're getting 14 volts with that maxed and 180 volts coming out. Okay? Now, that's at 6 kilohertz. We tuned this a little bit, and now we're getting 330 volts. So that is incredible. All right. Today's current readings also look promising. I decided to disconnect the output current measurement and do one more measurement at a time with the same meter, just to eliminate any impedance of variables. And what we get is 43 milliamps going into the coil and 37 milliamps coming out. If these readings pan out under scrutiny, this development will be extremely phenomenal. Assuming everything is correct at this point, we get numbers exceeding 1,000% efficiency. But let's not jump to conclusions. We still have a lot to consider to obtain the true power output of the coil, including factoring the startup power going into our mini amp board via my workbench power supply. Remember, I'm putting about 17.9 volts in there and about at least 160 milliamps. These are simply good indicators that we're achieving the levels of predictable efficiency by Daniel Nunes. So I predict that when we actually calculate the true power output, with our oscilloscope, when we have it in the future, and learning more about metrology and our duty cycle and all that fun stuff, factoring in all the data, I think that's going to go down significantly, but I don't think it's going to get much lower than maybe a COP of 1.52. So that's my prediction. I think we're actually going to see at least a COP of 1.5 in real power. Okay? So, let's look at the results because they're pretty interesting. All right? We have an input power of 0.602 watts and an output power of 6.66 watts with a COP of 11.06, efficiency 1,106%. Maybe not. That's still on the table. I mean, it would be pretty cool, but let's not jump to conclusions. We still have to get a bigger load, and today is actually about trying to raise money for that goal. We're trying to raise at least $21 so we can get the 40-watt LED panel for our load. As you can see in the diagram, it recommends a 10 to 40-watt fluorescent tube. We're going to use a 10 to 40-watt LED panel because these fluorescent tubes get expensive. This one was the cheapest that I could find. So we're going to start with the LED, then move on to the fluorescent tube. But I have a feeling that the wattage has a lot to do with it. So we're just going to hook it up and see. And if that doesn't work, if that doesn't pan out, we're going to go back to the Joule Thief because I know the Joule Thief has an ability to light up LEDs pretty efficiently if we know how to tune it correctly. Maybe we just need a different transistor or a different setup. Maybe we need the Dual Thief setup like Gerald has employed with his coil. There's still a lot of options here. So even if we've exhausted one, we've got plenty of avenues to go down. But suffice it to say, we have not exhausted this one yet. It looks promising. So, another thing to note here is that since we've pretty much verified the voltage input and output of the system at this frequency, we can also apply Ohm's law to the situation. Assuming the input current is correct, we should see only 1.82 milliamps, assuming no energy loss. So at 100% efficiency, if our current reading is correct on the input, we should be seeing only 1.82 milliamps on the output with that kind of spike in voltage. All right. So for the fan, for my demonstration, you'll see that I'm using this DC fan. It is a 3 to 6 volt DC fan that comes with the Arduino kit. It's the flower fan. So the current requirement is 90 milliamps, and it stalls at 750 milliamps. So it can't have more than 750 milliamps, I guess, before it fries out. Speed is 5,600 RPM at 3 volts. So at 3 volts, it should require only 90 milliamps. Okay? Let's take a look at these numbers. Again, we need to verify them with the oscilloscope, but they look promising because when we have no load attached, and again, this is very dangerous. This is what produces the ozone. You want a load attached, but If you're testing this with no load, just please do it real fast. Don't wait around, or have an ozone detector. Don't wait around for it to fill your room and then choke you out, because it will. Input voltage is 14 with no load attached. The input current reads at 200 milliamps, so it's very high because you're recycling that energy and it wants to dump, but it has nowhere to go. And that's why you're creating the ozone, because it's essentially creating a huge resonance cascade and forcing that energy out in the form of ozone through the vortex, right? It has to go somewhere. And the coil doesn't like to waste energy. It just doesn't. It's not built that way. It's not going to blow up. It's very stable. So what it's going to do is it's going to unload that energy in some way, and through some unknown phenomenon that's unknown to me at this time, it's producing ozone. And maybe it's just producing a lot of plasmoid clusters at the center that are, like disassociating different molecules and elements into ozone, into the base oxygen 3. So I have no idea. But we have 14 volts going in with no load, 200 milliamps, and on the output we have 330 volts, but only 7 milliamps. So that's expected, right? You want to see but even then, that kind of, like, we're seeing, with the calculations, that should not be 7 milliamps. That should be 1.84 or something like that. 1.8 milliamps is what we should be seeing if it's getting 100% efficiency. So this is very interesting. And that's I'm sorry. Yep. No, that's with the input at around 43. So when the input is around 43, this should be about 1. Okay, so that is okay. Yeah, never mind. I take that back. This is actually accurate. Just double checking, because when we see that number go down to about 43 as an above here, right here, 43 milliamps, that should be on the output at 100% efficiency, 1.82 milliamps. Okay, I apologize. So keep that in mind. Okay, so this is actually accurate, which makes sense because I double checked this. I triple checked this. So we have an input of 2.8 and an output of 2.31. So we do have pretty good efficiency, but it's only 83% efficient. Okay? With the load attached, we see that input current demand drops. I guess because it's being used and it has somewhere to go, and it's being it's in harmony with the system, so it's just not recycling. I have no idea. But the load with one load, and what I mean by load and extra load is this is one DC fan, and extra load is just another DC fan on top of it, the same one. So with one DC fan, we see 155 milliamps going into the coil. So that drops a little bit from 200. The same 330 voltage output, right? We're monitoring on the cap. And the output current actually rises to 20. Now this is very significant. This is actually really huge, right? Because when we calculate the input power versus the output power in wattage, we see 2.17 input watts and 6.6 output watts. Now that's a COP of 300% efficient. All right. And now we attach an extra load. And take a look at what happens with the input current. It significantly drops to 19 milliamps on the input. And then the output increases all the way to about 33 milliamps. This is huge. That's a 40 COP. That's 4,000% efficient. Now, if that's true, That's if we get this in perfect harmony and resonance with the load, theoretically we should easily be able to close the loop and have this run indefinitely. But we don't want that amount of extra power if our load turns out to be something less demanding, right? So, and I see this is how maybe this system can automatically adjust based on the load. So maybe by, as Malcolm does with his thunderstorm generator, you slightly detune the system. So right here on the extra load column, we see this, our extra load row, we see this as finely tuned, right? This extra load attached. This is our finely tuned row. And then if we want to slightly detune it to get slightly less efficiency because we don't want it to blow up something, we can go down to this load attached row, right? So, you know, it seems more evident that the demand is based on the load, and the efficiency once it goes up once you have the load in resonance with the capacitor and the inductor. So there's a lot to take in here. There's a lot to consider. There's a lot to verify. But if we take this at face value and we determine how much energy we're saving with the extra load attached using this method compared to supplying the power directly from the source. Okay, so we compare the input power from the source and the input power to the input power the extra load will require without this method. So we're comparing apples to oranges using this extra load method. And our results are we end up saving 7.1 watts at 65.5% efficiency energy saved. So you're saving 65% of the energy that you're using. This means you're consuming only 35% of the energy that would be required to power that load. It's incredible. So what you're doing is you're taking the minimum amount of power it will require to power that load at maximum efficiency. You're taking that minimum amount of power and you're cutting it. So this is very cool. And again, we're not actually violating Ohm's law. We're satisfying Ohm's law, but the system is 100% efficient, or maybe it's, 90% or 80%, whatever. But we're getting a little extra back, and it's in resonance with that. So when it's in resonance, we can use it. It's usable. It's not going to damage our components. So when you have that back EMF in resonance, you get that extra back from the collapsing field that that nature wants to give you to restabilize your system, right? So it's like, you have a teeter-totter and you push it and it goes back. Gravity pushes it back. That's nature trying to restabilize, right? It's giving you a little extra to stabilize the system. It wants to be in balance. It wants to be in harmony. So when a field collapses like that, real suddenly, you get this enormous rush of back EMF energy from nature to stabilize that. But you don't have it in resonance, so it's just going to end up screwing everything up if you don't know how to work with it. So that's basically what's going on here. You're not violating Ohm's law. You're not violating any laws of thermodynamics. You're just utilizing what nature's giving you more efficiently than most people are. Okay, so how do you tune and find this resonance? Using this method, we will be finding out the resonant frequency first, and then determining our inductance by working backwards. The formula for calculating resonant frequency is below. To calculate the resonant frequency of your circuit, apply this formula. So that's F equals 1 over 2 times pi times the square root of L times C. So L is inductance in henries, and C is capacitance in farads. So using the resonant frequency of the Mark I, which is 6110 hertz or 6210 hertz, we can determine our inductance to be approximately 4.38 millihenries. Pretty cool. Now, the two areas of application that could be most useful in my situation specifically with this kind of setup are induction heating and cooking and lighting. So we're going to be keeping that in mind when we tune our system fully and roll out with the Mark I Energy Saver. And that's going to be when we get our system working with this 40-watt load. So we're going as soon as we get the funds, we're going to order this $21 40-watt LED matrix panel. It's very bright, so we're going to grab that and see what happens. And that will be the Mark I Energy Saver that we're working on for the winter. Now, along with that, eventually I want to get that $20 12-volt battery off of Amazon as well, so in case the power goes out, we can just power that with the battery. I wanted to show you guys this PoE pulsar. Now, this is very cool. And yeah, let's just watch this. This is very cool.
This is Daniel Nunez with OneStopEnergies.com, and today I basically wanted to show you an energy reduction effect with this PoE pulsar. And what this is just a PoE coil with a circuit attached to it. It's just a pulsing circuit, oscillating circuit at 27 hertz, and it runs on a 12-volt DC adapter. As you can see, it's pulling 5 watts of power right now. So what I want to demonstrate to you is we can spin a magnet and produce more electricity than what's being consumed right now by adding a pickup coil. So we're just going to put this pickup coil right in the center. Pretty much nothing. It's not impressive light at all. So by synchronizing a magnet onto the top of this coil, because it's already pulsing at 27 hertz, we synchronize this magnet on the top, we'll be able to generate more power into that pickup coil and illuminate this LED more. See? So we're generating clearly more power. You can see right there. But have a look at this. So now it's going to toggle from 4 watts to 5 watts. So we're clearly making better use of that pulse and using less power than we were before. Now, what's the significance here? Well, this coil could be a pulsar for a number of different applications, and it just shows that we can multiply electricity without seeing any losses.
This is really cool. So I think they had it inside the coil. I'm not really sure what's going on here, but they don't really explain. But look at that. Sacred geometry. It's so pretty. All right, so we're gonna go to a quick break while I get ready to show you the 0 Point Energy demo at our mini lab. So let's take a quick 10-minute break, and I'll see you over at the lab. Oh, my camera was frozen.
In the depths of the unknown, radio waves like dark shows, mysteries unrepacked and shown. Solutions defy what we know, hidden truths we're never alone. Follow me down the rabbit hole, secrets and binding codes, breaking the mold, define control. Our burst without a soul in this digital catacomb. We spread the truth of the truly bold. Epics we uncover, forbidden undercover. Rise against the silence, breaking through defiance. Energy from the ether flow, quantum realms, the science of flow. Whispers from ancients echo, gravity's on hold. Let's go beyond the reach of their woe. Floating with you ever come, bridge the gaps, all light shows. Pioneer, on we roll, past the famous station. This is all been on road. Epics we uncover, forbidden undercover. Rise against the silence, breaking through defiance. Synth waves crashing, hearts collide. Revolution of the mind. Let the codes and truths unwind. Illumination find. Epics we uncover, forbidden undercover. Rise against the silence, breaking through defiance.
In a lab, Mike does cracks the code tonight. Oh yeah, that's true. Wires and circuits to shine in neon lights. Oh yeah, seen you creating power from the air. These smiles and delights. Oh yeah. Mike does it right. Hey. Mike does, oh Mike, he's the one teaching us knowledge, lighting the sun, trumpeting his legacy alive is his. Mike does knows we're his biggest friends. Down in the basement, secrets start to glow. Oh yeah. With Nathan Zulu in the show, oh brilliant team. Mike came from Faraday, world does Almighty's the one teaching us knowledge, lighting the sun, trumpeting his legacy alive is his. Mike does knows we're his biggest fans. Years of thought, bringing dreams to life, turning theories into electric light. Mike and us, a journey to ignite. Oh yeah, yeah. We've reached new heights. Hey. Mike does all Mikey's the one teaching us knowledge, lighting the sun, trumpeting his legacy alive is his. Mike does knows we're his biggest fans.
It makes me laugh along with my mind. Stable theories, they all refuse to find. I've been working on energy for a brand new day, but even in the crowd, I'm still a castaway. Alienated from the aids of added nature in disguise. Ideas ahead of time, dismissed with narrow eyes. Benefactor boy, dreaming about the world you can't deploy. Changing the system, but treated like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is his point. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice? Talking about 0 point with points lost on them. Counter structures crumbling from the same old stem. They laugh like I'm crazy, but I see it all so clear. Exploited labor, unnerving justice, burning ears. Fighting for a change in this wasteland of noise. But they call me foolish when I teach and boys. Benefactor boy, dreaming about the world he can't deploy. Changing the system, but treated like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is his point. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice? Chasing revolutions in the darkest nights. A dreamer with vision beneath the laughter and noise. A future so bright waiting for the right choice. Benefactor boy, dreaming about the world he can't deploy. Changing the system, but treated like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is his point. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice?
In the depths of hidden files, trapped inside the secret circuits, unraveling through the miles, oh, truth was masked by golden curtains.
and gravity converge, yeah, guiding voices, revelations start. Ancient whispers call, they're begging us to open our eyes. We stand tall, defying all their lies. Living in now, we're shattering the silence. Feel the power, revelations on the rise. Forbidden knowledge we dare to see, unveiling secrets, setting minds free. In this epic we play our part with fearless hearts. In and now, we're shattering the silence. Feel the power, revelations on the rise.
Shelves in his eye, minds open wide, fringe heroes unite, the secrets can't hide. 0-point dreams, they reach for the sky, gravity to fight, ancient whispers abide. Welcome to the edge of what we know, where dreams take flight, let knowledge flow. In the cradle of stars, truth's light will go. The Nathan and the benefactor watch their future go. Drums of vision, ride the light they sail. Ancient codes unravel like comets going tail. Nathan lights the charge, circuits burn ablaze. Will the benefactor all his furious maze? Echoes of old secrets whispered in the night, they guide the light to a future bright. Breakthroughs at the fringe they take, needing dimensional science to draw a blank. The fringe think tank, the scientific lens, Nathan, Ben and friends, the fun never ends.
All right, make sure everybody can hear me loud and clear. What's going on? I'm the benefactor. Right now, we are going to show you how to tune your coil, but please be advised, doing this, do this at your own risk. Okay, this has a tendency to produce a lot of ozone, so be safe. All right, so the first step is to hook up your coil. Now, what we have here employed is something I like to call the Nunez method. So the Nunez method, there we go, is an open circuit method where you connect the channel A and channel B through the load and use a 1.5 microfarad capacitor in parallel with the load. And you're using your source as a stereo amp receiver in this instance, and your tone generator is input into the stereo amp. Okay, so as you see, I have my source as the power supply right here, where we're going to turn on, and we're going to turn down the power a little bit to simulate a 9-volt battery, to see if we can get this 9-volt battery that I got to produce any kind of high voltage and see how long it lasts. Basically, we're just going to time it, see how long it lasts till it's dead, see if we get any kind of longevity out of it using these neon lamps. We're not going to connect the fan. Maybe we'll connect the fan to the capacitor if it's looking like it's holding up. We'll see. All right, so as you see in the Nunez method, I have the output of the stereo amp receiver positive going into channel A start, which I have as red. So A start is red, A end is black, and that's how I have it color coded. Channel B start is yellow, channel B end is green. So you'll see that on my coil. All right, but here we just have it simplified in red and black, positive and negative. So you have the end of channel A going to the positive of your load with the cap in parallel. And then you have the end of channel B going to the negative of the stereo board. Okay, so you have the positive of the stereo board hooked up to the start of A, and then the other side hooked up to the end of B. So it's going in opposite directions when it's returning. Okay, this is very important. This is the secret of the Nunez method. And this is an open circuit method where we're able to resonate, maximize the resonance between the load using this capacitor as a smoother or a filter of some sort. That's my theory, at least. So let's move on to the demonstration and how you actually tune this thing. All right, so we're going to be monitoring the output voltage on the capacitor with this oscilloscope. To get a full reading, though, we're going to have to adjust the probe and pause it because it really is kind of loose. For this one, we're going to be monitoring the output voltage, right? And to match the oscilloscope, and we're going to be monitoring the input current, and then we're going to switch it and monitor the output current at the same time. Because we already know that we're only getting 14 volts coming out of the stereo amp board. We can show that as well. But it's suffice it to say it's only outputting at this frequency that it's resonating at. It's only outputting 14 volts from the stereo amp board. And again, we're going to reduce it to 8. We only have 8 volts going in. So 8 volts going to the stereo amp. The amp is actually amplifying it a little bit at 14 volts. But then the coil is like hugely, massively amplifying it at 330 volts on the output. So it's very, very significant. All right, so be aware that since we have the power down, we're not going to be able to light all 4 of these LED or neons. So let's actually take out one of them. And we're just going to light 3 of them for now. Okay? So let's begin. We begin by using our tone generator. Now the tone generator is, as you can see, is hooked up into the mini board via this auxiliary cable. Here you have our output load. And what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be starting at all the way at the bottom, right? We're going to turn this puppy on. Well, let's turn our power on first. Okay, so we got power on. We're going to turn up the volume all the way up. And we're going to turn this puppy on. And what we're going to do is we're going to increase at 1,000 hertz increments. So let's go to 1,000 hertz. And right now, I'm going to zoom in a second, but we have on our, if you have a secondary coil that you can put on top or on bottom of your coil that you're using, like I have, this isn't connected to anything, this Christmas coil, this big one on the bottom. We're using the top one. This isn't connected to anything. It just has the LED connected to the channel A end and channel A start. And this is specifically so we can get an indication of where our resonance frequency is. Okay? So this will start to light up when we see resonance. And we don't have to do specifically 1,000. You can kind of scrub it if you want, if you don't want to, you know, take the time. But I recommend doing it this way. Okay? Let's turn that on. Turn that on. Okay. So, 2,000 hertz. We're increasing it 1 more kilohertz. 3,000 hertz. Nothing. 4,000 hertz. Now there are 3 indicators you're looking for and specifically listening for. So you're listening for a hum. It's going to sing to you. You're listening, or you're looking for that neon to light up, and you're looking for a massive voltage spike on the output. Okay? So right now we're at approximately 9 volts on the output. Okay? We're only at 9 volts on the output. 10 volts. So let's go to, oh, that's with our load connected. So when we have our load connected, we're not going to see the full output of the capacitor because some of it's going to the load. So this is going to be slightly diminished while our load's connected, but the oscilloscope should pick up the full signal. All right, so we're going to go to 5,000. Nothing. Let's go to 6,000. Oh, I hear something. Okay, so at 6,000 you hear a slight hum. And you can see we have 36 volts coming out now. So it kind of peaked a little bit. All right? So that's like 10 volts, and then it went up to 36. Well, let's see what it was at 5,000. At 5,000, yeah, 14 volts at 5,000. So it doesn't really go up much, and then you hit 6,000. And you hear that hum. You see the spike in voltage. Okay, so now we're going to try to tune it 10 hertz at a time until we find the very, very top of that peak. Okay? I'm not going to drag you through the full process. What I ended up with was 6210. Okay? We don't actually... Yeah, we don't have enough coming out. That's weird. Why isn't this lighting up? Give me 1 second. All right, that's why. Sorry about that. Just had to plug it in a little bit and unplug the second part of the circuit. So we're just using the neon lamps right now. All right. So now, as you can see, we have 56 volts coming out. Well, it's fluctuating between 53 to 56 volts coming out. Now, and it was lighting the neon. Let me unplug. Let me turn it off real quick and unplug some things, because remember, we're trying to get this to work with the 9-volt battery. So we're trying to simulate the 9-volt battery. Let's see if that helps. Yep, there we go. Okay, there we go. And it's weird because with Michael's coil setup, he puts it on the and Gerald's as well. He puts loads using pickup coils, and he picks up extra energy without affecting the input. I'm not seeming to do that. See, anytime I have this lit, it seems to actually draw power from the system. So what we're going to do for now is disconnect that. Now that we have the indicator of our range, we don't need this right now. It's actually drawing more power for some reason, and this is something that's really baffling to me. I don't understand that. It's not supposed to. I have to talk to Gerald about that. Maybe he understands why. But I'm going to turn it back on. Okay, there we go. So we got those lit. Let's put one more back on to see if we can get 3 of them. Nope, just 2. Okay, so we're just going to stick with these 2 for now, the green and the blue, because they're pretty. All right, so we got green and blue lit. All right, we're in full tuning, or we're fully tuned in. We're in full resonance. We're only putting 7.6 volts into the coil and 430 milliamps. Now, this stereo amp board is taking at least... Okay, it's taking at least 150 to 160 milliamps just to power the board. This is picking up 130. So I'm wondering if this is actually a miscalculation, or if this is actually taking up more power than we initially calculated. So let's see. Let's unhook the load and see what happens. All right. Doesn't seem to affect it much. All right, let's try hooking up a load. Let's try hooking up this load, the fan. Okay, so it's not getting enough power to actually start the fan itself. Yep. But as you can see, the current requirement on the output drops. The output of the stereo amp. And so does the current requirement that's going in from the power supply. Now, this is very important. This is extremely important. Why is this important? Because, again, this takes at least 140 to 160 milliamps to power. Maybe I'm overestimating. Maybe it's under that. But this is it's got to be at least 149, 148. We can't see the extra decimal here. But this is 8 milliamps coming out. And this makes sense. This drops. So we put on a load. Our input requirement drops. Our output, let's take a look at that. And would you look at that? Okay. We have 14 to 15 milliamps coming out. This isn't changed. Obviously, I didn't change nothing. I just disconnected the current reading from the output of the stereo amp, and I hooked it up to the in series with the positive of the output of the load. Okay? So we're getting about 14, 15 milliamps coming out of the coil and only 8 milliamps going in. And the voltage we know is being multiplied, right? We disconnect this load and check this out. We have okay, that's our output with the increase in amperage. All right. Now, without the load, look, it spikes back up. We better connect it. Okay. See, disconnected. We get a reduction in the milliamperage on the input. Okay. And remember, when we have the load disconnected, we have 155 amps going in. So that's a huge reduction in current. As soon as we hook the load, it switches. Right? We had 8 amps or 8 milliamps going in, 14 milliamps coming out with that multiplication in voltage. So this is very significant. Now again, this only says about 8 volts coming out, but that's trying to go put all this power to the neon and the fan. If I disconnect this, see the neons light up. Look at this, okay? But now the neons are taking a little bit of the current. So when you have more of a load on the system, you can actually power devices with less power requirement than they would normally take. All right, if we hook this fan up to the capacitor, because I'm not able to amplify the power at this time because we're simulating the 9-volt battery, we want to try to see if we can hook it up to the rectifier and capacitors, give it a little kick. All right, see if it'll get a little kick on maybe. Nope. Suffice it to say, that actually didn't make our current go up any. It's only when we hooked it up right here, because again, we have capacitors on the rectifier here. There's 2 capacitors on the rectifier that I just hooked it up to try to give it a little kick. That's changing the frequency. We want it to resonate all together. So as it's just on the power rail here, it's doing that. As you can see, we have 2 neon lamps lighting up. Let's try to put a third one to see what happens with the amperage. Okay. Put a third one on there. And in a minute, we're going to do our 9-volt test. We're just seeing what we can do at the voltage simulating the voltage level of the 9-volt battery. So we're putting 7.6 volts into it. Okay. All right, that didn't change. That's not being powered any. Okay, so we don't see any kind of change. These require high voltage, but not a lot of current. So it's not demanding a lot of current from the system. As soon as I put the fan on, it demands much more current. But at that power level, it's just not able to amplify it enough to start the fan because it's under the requirement, but it's still trying. It's pretty remarkable. Again, I can increase this on the power supply, and yeah, that'll start up. And the same will be relevant. You'll have less input, more output, and it's really significant. So let's move on to the 9-volt battery test. It appears to want to light it. All right, so it doesn't want to light the neon. So I disconnected the neon. It lit it for like a couple seconds. But it seems to be very good at the induction method here. Okay. Oh, it's going on and off. So we're getting about 20 to 25 volts on the output. Pretty good amplification on the voltage. I don't think the battery is enough for the stereo amp. But this is interesting because this stereo amp requirement is 12 to 18 volts. We're only putting 9 volts in here right now. And probably not the full 9. So that makes sense. But even with that 9, we were able to light that neon for a couple seconds on and off. And this is still going strong, so we're just going to leave this on and see how long it lasts. So we're going to do this again with the same exact battery maybe tomorrow and see how long it lasts at 60 hertz and compare. The voltage has dropped from 22 to 12. So we're getting a significant power reduction here. Seems to be slowly going down as the battery is being drained. Slowly but surely, more and more of that power needs to be allocated and prioritized to the stereo amp, leaving less and less for the load. So I did turn down the power slightly as well in the beginning of this experiment. It might have actually been closer to what we're seeing here. Maybe around 15 volts on the output. But it is slowly going down. Oh, no. Never mind. I must have adjusted. Yeah, that sucker's all the way up. It's all the way up. Okay, so we're now down to 9 volts now. 9 volts coming out. Okay, based on a preliminary reading here. Yeah. So we got 8, 9 volts coming out, and it looks to be about that's 10 volts max, so I'd say 2.5 volts coming out of the coil, and it's still amplifying the voltage. Yeah, about 2.5. Slowly going down, now down to flickering between 7 and 8 volts on the output. We are now down to 6 volts, flickering from 6 to 5.8 on the output, still lighting that little LED. And I'm just curious, at what point is this stereo amp going to say, nope, not enough, and cut out? We will see very shortly. Again, this only has 2.5 volts coming out, or at like 8 volts going out of the coil. So it's very, very low. This requires 12 to 18 for the stereo speaker setup. So assuming you're having speakers set up to these 2 channels, so it can very well operate at a lower power. So I'm curious to how low this can go just to power this LED. Down to 3.5. At this rate, I think it's going to flare out in the next 5 minutes or less. starting to flicker on and off. And it's flickering out right at 2 volts. Still outputting 2 volts though. Pretty cool. Yep, that makes sense. 2 volts is just not enough to light this LED through the induction method, the wireless. So there might be some power loss there, who knows. We haven't measured the power output, but we should, of this coil. So maybe next experiment we'll do is measure the current and voltage coming out of this pickup coil, the Christmas coil here. Okay. All right, thank you everyone. Appreciate the love and support. We're going to end this live stream, and I'll catch you later. I'll be on tomorrow for Free Energy Fridays, League of Extraordinary Inventors, and I'll be doing the same demo, maybe without a battery though. We will be lighting probably all 4 neons with the power supply. So I'll be demonstrating the effects of the rodent coil tomorrow. Rodent coil, lava coil, whatever you want to call it.